what's up, and welcome to the No Bullshit Manifestation Show. I'm your host, Kat Kozad, manifestation expert, money mindset and fulfillment coach, and multiple six-figure entrepreneur. Come sit with me while I spill the real tea on what it's like to practice using intentional manifestation, demystify all of the woo-woo and confusing bullshit that comes along with creating the life of your dreams, and give you a realistic view of what it's like to be on a personal, spiritual, and professional growth journey. The goal of this podcast is to support and guide you towards manifesting all of your dreams, shed light on the things that people are too scared to talk about, and encourage you to become the person who gets to have it all, be it all, and do it all. I am so happy you are here. Let's fucking do this thing. What's up, loves? Welcome back to another episode of the No Bullshit Manifestation Show. Today on the show, we're going to be talking about how you can move out of scarcity and into abundance. And what I mean by this is like not only shifting out of a scarcity mindset into an abundance mindset, but like shifting out of scarcity as an embodiment into abundance as an embodiment. Because if you listen to the podcast, you'll know this because I talk about it all the time. It's not enough just to think the thoughts or just to feel the feelings when you're manifesting something. It truly requires you to become the embodiment of whatever it is that you're manifesting and embody that abundance inside of yourself. Create this internal abundance so that you become the vibrational match to receive the different things that you want in your life. And this is one of the biggest things that I'm passionate about when it comes to teaching manifestation, because yes, there are a lot of resources out there when it comes to manifestation. But what I have found in the past few years of teaching this and also learning and implementing things into my life is that like majority of the resources that you find out there when it comes to manifestation are incredibly dismissive and don't really address the underlying causes that are creating these things, or like don't properly remove the old, the energetic, the things that have been holding you in patterns of the past. So therefore, yes, it feels better for a short amount of time using these different manifestation methods, implementing these different ideologies into your life. But ultimately, after time passes, you continue to play out the same patterns because you're not addressing the underlying things that are creating it in the first place because of these super dismissive approaches. And two, the other thing that I find is like, majority of the manifestation resources out there make manifestation so fucking confusing. And the reality is like manifestation's actually incredibly simple when you have the right guidance to help you really create these shifts in your life. So that is what we're going to be talking about on the show today. And to kick this off, what I'm going to be giving you, definitely, if you feel called to, take notes on this, listen to this episode multiple times, save it, come back to it, share it with other people, because this is the exact process that I have taken myself through and I take clients through inside of the Abundant AF Babe Academy for you to really start to understand what is affecting you in your vibration and in your manifestation so that you can shift out of that state of scarcity and into a place of abundance. So first things first, what you want to kick this off with is recognizing what stories of scarcity you are currently in, where and how you are embodying scarcity in your life currently. And this is a massive step when it comes to shifting from a state of scarcity to abundance. And it's a step that oftentimes gets overlooked because it's incredibly uncomfortable and it's going to require you to look at things that don't feel very good. It's going to require you to look at the things that are embodying and holding that scarcity right now. But something to know is that like we can't change inside of ourselves what we don't recognize and what we're not willing to recognize. So when it comes to any manifestation journey, this is the first thing that has to take place before you start to think about what it is that you're wanting to manifest or creating the big, beautiful life full of abundance. Because if you don't take care of and properly handle the underlying shit that shit isn't going to go away. And something that I like to think about with this, it's such like a graphic sort of visual, but it's essentially like if there was a pile of shit and instead of cleaning up that pile of shit, you just put something pretty in front of it. And you're like, oh, look, everything's good now. Look at this pretty thing. Look at the money. Look at the abundance. Look at all of these incredible things. But it's like, eventually that shit's going to smell really bad. And the pretty thing is going to be tainted by the pile of shit that is sitting behind it. And honestly, just kind of take over the experience. So it's like, instead of just covering up the pile of shit, you actually have to address it. You actually have to look at it. You have to remove it so that you can then place the pretty things in front and actually have those be a long-lasting experience, as opposed to like something that still stinks and doesn't feel quite right because you know there's a pile of shit hanging out behind it. And this is so important because we must transmute this in order for you to actually elevate your vibration into the place where then you are naturally attracting and manifesting more abundance, more money, more of the things that you're wanting from that point. So when it comes to recognizing these different things, what I want to say with this is like, when you look back at, let's use specifically the relationship with money and shifting from scarcity with money into abundance with money, the relationship that you have with money right now, if it does not feel good, I want you to know that like you didn't choose that for yourself. You didn't choose to have a shitty relationship with money. You didn't choose to have shitty finances. Like that is something you were taught. And that is something to become aware of with every single thing in your life, especially the things that do not serve you. You didn't choose those things for yourself. You learned them from somewhere, because everything in our lives is a learned behavior. And when it comes to the behaviors that don't serve us, again, it's going to come from either somebody who taught us this in upbringing or an experience that tainted the perception that we had around money. So going back to recognizing these things in the first place and starting to assess them, what's really important to do is look back at your past. Look at what you learned from your parents, what you learned from your primary caregivers, what you learned from friends, teacher, society, media, the town you grew up in, all of those different things, because that is what has created your subconscious mind, has created the structure and the conditioning of your subconscious mind, because we learn majority of our beliefs between ages 0 to 7. So really looking back into those areas and recognizing like you didn't choose the things that you hold on to now. You were taught those things from some way or another in your life. And once you can become aware of those things, it's important to know that like you can't just recognize it and be like, oh, okay, found it, done, like on to abundance. Like, no, again, that's just seeing the pile of shit. Now it's like you have to do something with the pile of shit. And one of the most harmful things that majority of manifestation methods out there will teach you is like, essentially, if your mind was a garden, just to trim the weeds down as opposed to actually uprooting the weeds. And when you're in a state of scarcity, what I want you to imagine is like you have a garden and your garden is filled with weeds. There's hardly any flowers growing in the garden because there's so many weeds in the garden that are taking up the space for it. And like I said, majority of manifestation methods will teach you to just walk around the garden, trim the weeds down, pretend like they're not going to grow back by forcing gratitude, force positive thinking, force affirmations, force meditation. And like, yes, those things work for a short amount of time because you are trimming those weeds down and it is going to feel better for a short amount of time. But ultimately, because the roots are still living underneath the ground, those weeds are going to continue to grow back. And again, what majority of manifestation methods and teachers and whatnot don't teach you is that mindset work is not enough when it comes to releasing these patterns of the past, releasing the limiting beliefs, releasing the energy that you've held inside of your body. Because if money has held a negative, dark, traumatic, whatnot role in your life, then it's not going to just be the mindset work that actually allows you to eliminate the beliefs and the patterns that you've been stuck in. You actually need somatic healing. And somatic healing is removing that energy from your physical body, because our bodies hold on to all of the experiences that we've had in our lives and will continue to manifest those same experiences or similar like vibrational experiences over and over again in your life until you're able to clear that energy out, because we manifest into our lives what we are, not what we want. So it's like, if you recognize that no matter how hard you try to create some sort of positive financial change, you always find yourself back into the same patterns of the past and like really fucked up situations. Even though you're doing the mindset work, even though you're working to actively manifest more money, more abundance into your life, it's most likely because you have something happening literally on an energetic and physical level inside of your body, an emotional level inside of your body, and that energy needs to be released from your physical body in order for you to actually create space in the ground for you to eliminate those roots of the weeds and create the space for you to then plant the seed of abundance. And with this is like exactly what we do inside of the Abundant AF Babe Academy, is actually not only do the mindset work and the belief work to help you remove these things and then plant the new seeds, but we do it on the energetic, emotional, and physical level inside of your body so that you can actually physically, emotionally, and energetically create the space for you to plant new seeds of abundance. Because without it, again, for the majority of us, mindset work isn't enough, because we have had traumatic experiences when it comes to our relationship with money. We have had dark experiences. We have had things that have really impacted the way that we interact with and perceive money. And because of that, again, mindset work is not enough. Trimming the weeds down is not enough, because those weeds are going to continue to grow back if you haven't properly addressed those weeds in the ground, the roots to those weeds in the ground, and eliminate them. And that's where, again, like I was saying at the very beginning of this podcast episode, majority of manifestation approaches are really dismissive, because they'll just say like, oh, you just need to think happy thoughts. You just need to open your bank account and feel grateful. You just need to swipe your credit card and say, this will come back to me tenfold. You just need to see money as your best friend. Like, you just need to do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, yes, those things are super helpful. Yes, those things are going to shift your vibration. Yes, those things are eventually going to make an impact, but they're not going to, again, if there's still a pile of shit hanging out, if there's still weeds in the ground, if there's still actual energy that is holding you in these patterns of the past that is living inside of your body. So if, like I said, you find yourself in this pattern where no matter how much you are doing to shift your relationship with money, no matter what you do in your manifestation practices, no matter what sort of positive change you're trying to create for yourself in your finances, and it just doesn't feel like it's working. It just feels like you find yourself in the same patterns over and over again. And this doesn't just have to be your relationship with money. It like literally can be anything. Your relationship with yourself, the limiting beliefs that you have about yourself, the doubt, lack of self-worth, issues in relationships, whatnot. It's because of this. And this is exactly what we do inside of the Abundant AF Babe Academy. We help you actually eliminate those things from the energetic, emotional, and mental level so that you're able to actually create the space in the ground so that then you can plant new seeds in the ground that are going to actually then turn into the abundance and the flowers that you're wanting in your garden. But with this, going back to really recognizing those roots that are planted in the ground. A lot of the times these things may be obvious. You may be able to look back into your past and be like, oh, mom embodied this, so therefore, of course, I learned to spend money in this way or see money this way or think that life is hard or whatever. But sometimes, and majority of the time, at least in my experience and the majority of the women that I work with, it's not blatantly obvious, because when it comes to our belief systems and the way that we form limiting beliefs, it's not just what happened in our own experience. It's also what happened in our primary caregivers or parents' experiences. And what I mean by this is like, our subconscious minds are formed by our moms and by our dads or by our primary caregivers, and the relationship that they had to you, as well as the relationship that they had to themselves in their lives, is going to form your perception of reality and the beliefs and the behaviors that you have because of that. So, for example, let's say like if your dad wasn't very present in your life growing up, if he wasn't present at all, oftentimes this experience and the perception of it can lead you towards wanting to create a bunch of riches in your life to put money in the position of essentially replacing the safety and security that you never got from your dad. That was definitely my experience growing up. And if you know my story, it's like my dad was physically there, but he wasn't mentally or emotionally there for me majority of the time. So because of this, the lack of safety that I got from that role in my life and how it was then taken in, perceived, and integrated into my mind and my body put me into the situation where it felt as though the only thing that would make me feel safe was making money. And so I worked my ass off. I did everything I could to make as much money as possible. And when I was able to recognize that and then do the healing work surrounding my relationship to my dad, surrounding my relationship to money, surrounding safety and all of those things, then it's allowed me to actually clear the space inside of myself to then plant the seeds of like abundance and money being a constant and me being safe with or without it and having an awesome relationship with my dad now, because that could be the reality once I had removed all the mental, emotional, and energetic blockages that were standing in my way before that. So that's one example of like a very non-obvious way that like scarcity can play out in our lives based off of past experiences and how you can start to heal it. Another not obvious way that our upbringing can impact our relationship with money and like our relationship with abundance moving forward is if your mom had a super funky relationship with herself. She had low self-worth. She didn't appreciate herself. She only felt like she was worthy if she accomplished a bunch of tasks every single day or looked a certain way or whatever it is. Then you may not feel worthy of having money. You may not feel worthy of having love, having abundance in whatever way. And then when abundance, when money, when these really incredible things show up in your life, oftentimes you'll repel it, you'll self-sabotage in some sort of way and push it away because of that relationship that mom had to herself. So again, really understanding that like these patterns, these beliefs, these stories that have held you in patterns of scarcity in the past, they may not be super obvious. And this is really powerful to know because again, when it comes to the way that like money manifestation especially is taught in our society and like taught by a lot of these like manifestation gurus is like, it's just the relationship with money. And it's like, if I was just to look at my relationship with money and think that healing those things would change everything for me and I would manifest all the money that I desire into my life, then like there wouldn't honestly be a ton to work with. And I talk about this all the time on the podcast. I talk about this all the time on my Instagram, but the reality is like Money manifestation oftentimes and most of the time has absolutely nothing to do with money and everything to do with our relationship to ourselves, our relationships to others, the world, fear, judgment, failure, discomfort, so many different things. And when you can actually start to address all of these areas of your life and your relationship specifically to yourself, then it will illuminate these areas of your life that are then also creating scarcity in your relationship with money. But like I said, eliminating the weeds surrounding this, eliminating the roots to those weeds on a mental, emotional, energetic, and physical level, then actually creates the space in the ground for you to plant the new seed. And then with planting that new seed, what essentially your goal is to get super clear on what beliefs you would have, what behaviors you would have, what emotions you would have, what actions you would take. Like, essentially, who would you be as the version of yourself who already had the money that you desire, who already was in that space of abundance, and to plant the seeds of that, plant those new supportive beliefs into the space where the scarcity used to be inside of yourself. And again, when you do the somatic work around this, you're actually able to feel space being created inside of your body for these new seeds to be planted. It's such a cool experience for anybody who hasn't done any somatic work. It's such a powerful experience because you actually physically feel more space being created inside of you, and you feel the energy of the past being released from you so that there is space for that new seed. And then with that, it's like planting the new supportive belief and then backing it with the behaviors and the emotions on a daily basis that are in alignment and like congruency with that belief that you're planting. So let's say you're planting the seed of like abundance is always available to me. You're planting that seed in the ground. That's the belief that you're choosing for yourself. And then what you're required to do from that point is embody the actions and the emotions of abundance is always available to me. So showing up in your life on a day-to-day basis, constantly like looking around your life and paying gratitude to the fact that there's so much abundance available to you always, even and especially when it doesn't feel like there is. Like, you have a body, your body's here, your lungs are working, you're able to listen to this podcast, you have a phone or a computer or something that's allowing you to do that. You have so much abundance available to you on a daily basis. Even if it's not the physical manifestation of money, you can pay appreciation to those things. And through doing that, you're training your subconscious mind to see that abundance in your life. And then we have this fun little thing up in our brain called the reticular activating system. It will actively, in the back burner every single day, look for where there is abundance to continue to reaffirm this new supportive belief, which is then watering that seed and then backing it with like the behaviors of really approaching life in the energy of abundance versus the energy of scarcity, choosing to see life as the cup half full as opposed to half empty, approaching things from the energy of like, yes, I can give, as opposed to feel as though I need to take, or being in the position where like you go and get a coffee and you tip 100% on it. You choose to think big scale instead of small scale. You choose to expand instead of contract, like really being in this energy of abundance in all areas of your life. Then that's going to tend to and water that seed that you've planted in the ground and allow that belief, that new supportive behavior to actually take root inside of your brain and body. And through doing that, shift your vibration and your set point of attraction from wherever it's been and whatever you've been attracting and manifesting because of that, and elevate it up to a place where abundance is just your natural set point. So like I've been saying with this, it's like, you want to visualize this essentially as you planting seeds in the garden and going back and tending to that garden on a daily basis. Because it's like, you wouldn't plant a seed, walk away from it, and expect it to grow. Like, you would have to plant that seed, water it on a daily basis, make sure it's getting the right sun, make sure it's in the right environment, make sure it's getting everything that it needs, and with time, have it grow. And that's the other part of this, is like allowing the time for it to actually grow. Something that I've been like on a fucking rant about recently, and I've talked about a lot on my Instagram. If you're not already following me on Instagram, is like, one of the most harmful things that our modern day technology and age has given us is the perception of instant gratification. Because we have our fucking phones at our hands all times. You can get onto the app, order whatever, have it delivered to you in as little as 30 minutes, like have Amazon Prime show up the next day, whatever it may be. Like, all of these things have programmed our brains to see and perceive and believe that we should receive everything instantly. But the reality is like, as you would plant a seed in the ground, you would have to give that seed time to grow. And even when it's popped out of the ground, it's still just a baby. It's still fragile. You still have to show up for it, tend to it, water it, keep it safe, protect the seedling that has come up. And like, seeing that and reflecting that back to you is like, protect your fucking energy, and know that if you can stay consistent with this, then that is going to allow you to actually attract in and manifest the abundance that you desire. And that, like, saying an affirmation one time or journaling about your desires one time and then never doing anything about it again, and staying in the same patterns of the past, remaining who you've been for such a long time, like, that's not going to allow you to shift into the abundance that you desire. So with all of that being said, that is an overview of what this process actually looks like. And I know I put a lot of emphasis on like recognizing these things from the past and removing the different mental, emotional, and energetic blockages associated to them. But I put so much emphasis on that because when you've done that, then planting the seed and tending to it and watering it on a daily basis, like, that's the easy part. And that's why manifestation is so fucking simple. It's like, when you can do the healing work and then just do like the everyday manifestation work of like showing up for these new beliefs and new behaviors that are going to elevate your vibration, that's so fucking easy. We can do that. It's the part of addressing the past and recognizing what has created these patterns, these beliefs, these traumas, these things inside of you that have held you in the energy of scarcity. That's the part that can be super challenging, especially when you're trying to do it on your own. So I know I've already talked about it in this podcast episode, but this is exactly what we do inside of the Abundant AF Babe Academy. And oh my God, it is so fucking incredible to see just within the past few weeks how much has shifted for these women, how they've completely shifted out of the energy of scarcity into the energy of abundance, and how much money and opportunities and just like incredible things have manifested into their lives by making the decision to do this. So if you're feeling called, click the link down below for the Abundant AF Babe Academy and join us, because there's no better time than right now to start, because time's the most valuable resource that we have. It's the only resource that we can't get back. And if you can give yourself the gift of removing these different patterns of the past that have been holding you in scarcity, you set yourself up for such an abundant life from this point moving forward. The rest of your life gets to be spent in such an incredible state of abundance. And that is what I wish for all of you. So again, if you're feeling called, hit the link down below to join the Abundant AF Babe Academy. And that's all I have for you on this podcast episode. But I'm sending you all the love, and I'll chat with you on the next one. Oh my gosh. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I am so grateful to have these no bullshit talks with you. If you enjoyed today's episode or the podcast as a whole, please spread the love by leaving me a review on iTunes or sharing the podcast with others. This is how I will be able to spread more of these good vibes and be able to make more of an impact on the lives of others. And if you're not already part of all of the goodness and communities that I have to offer, check out the show notes. I have links to the different ways that I can support you on your manifestation journey and help you live a life full of more money, fulfillment, and freedom. But that is all for now. So big love and hugs, and I will chat with you soon, babe.